I'm Janice, and I'm choosing to talk about The Rose Tattoo that was written by Tennessee Williams. Um, and, all right, I guess I'll get started. Um, when I first started watching it, I was like, man, I think I picked the wrong play. But I watched it a couple of times, and it kind of grew on me, especially in the beginning when it highlights the relationship between the mother and the husband and the daughter, because it starts off with Serafina being pregnant and running into the priest, and him asking her why she was so happy. And Serafina was like, she didn't want to tell him at first. She was going to talk to her husband first and let him know that she was with child. And she gets home and her daughter is there and another lady is there, which turned out to be her husband, mistress, who was in her home wanting her to fix a shirt. So she gets home and she's talking to her husband, and he's asleep because he drives trucks that hauls, I think it was bananas or oranges, but he also had something hidden underneath the produce or the bananas or the oranges that he was hauling back and forth. So towards the end, it kind of gives us hints about it being drugs or him hauling something that he wasn't supposed to, because he gets into a high speed chase later on in the play with the police. But she tells him that she's pregnant and he's asleep, and to me, he seemed to be very disconnected from his wife and his daughter through the entire play, even up until he died. He really didn't stand out too much to me. Um, but it kind of gave us a brief notion into, I guess, how Tennessee Williams kind of viewed the men back then, because there was a lot of infidelity going on. Not with everybody, but it was known that it was okay for the man to step outside and um, do as he pleased, while the woman stayed home and was faithful and kept the home, and was the homemaker within the home. And she tells him that she's pregnant. He's asleep, didn't wake up, didn't budge. She walks outside of the room, and she meets the lady who wants a shirt made for her boyfriend. And her husband hears the lady, so he sneaks up to the door and he's listening to what she's saying, and he could hear her voice. So it was kind of weird how, like, all of a sudden, after she said she would make the shirt for the mistress, even though she didn't know that she was the mistress at the time, the husband runs away. He gets in his truck and he leaves and doesn't say goodbye to his wife or his daughter. And that was like how the beginning started to play out. It played out pretty fast. It was like very fast paced. Um, but the concept of that part was, I guess, it was just telling us and showing us that he could freely leave as he pleased, but Serafina felt like she was the homemaker who was supposed to stay home, who was supposed to love her husband, take care of her daughter. And Tennessee Williams kind of dug deep into the mental health issues that women could go through during a time where your significant other leaves you, you're pregnant. And we just saw Serafina start off as being a well-dressed woman. She um, she her hair was always done, but when he left and was killed, um, she went into a depression, and she changed, and she wasn't the same anymore. And she stopped putting on clothes, she stopped doing her hair. Her daughter was like very upset with her about um, not keeping herself up, and it went into a point to where Serafina did not want her daughter to attend school or the graduation, and she was totally against it. But her daughter stood her ground, and she was like, I'm going to graduate. She did graduate. Her daughter moved on and got married. Well, no, not she didn't get married, but she met a guy that was in the Navy, and they fell in love. Her mom was totally against it because her mom thought that the guy was like a Rolling Stone, like her pop, but like her dad was, and that she would get hurt by him. But the guy really did love her daughter, and he didn't hurt her or whatever. Um, Another thing that stood out to me the most is the mother daughter relationship between Serafina and her daughter. It's kind of weird how it started off. I thought the daughter was very disrespectful in the beginning. I thought she was going to be a terrible person, but it turned out to be that her daughter was like the backbone for her through everything that her mother was going through, and um, she stood up and she was there with her mother through everything. And then it shocked me that she would bring home her boyfriend to meet her mom, knowing that her mom was going through a lot of stuff, but she wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't scared. It was unique because you would think that she would want to keep her boyfriend away from her mother until her mother was better or in the right frame of mind to meet people. Uh, Serafina meets a man. She meets a man. To me, it seemed like they were falling in love. He was a fast talker. I really liked him. He brought a lot of laughter, um, and he was a great character throughout the whole play. Uh, he drove trucks as well. And another thing about the rose tattoo is that her husband had a rose tattoo on his chest. His mistress also got the rose tattoo on her chest. So Serafina's new friend, boyfriend, or whatever, that the guy that she's just met, he goes and tries to please her and get the same rose tattoo on his chest. But she didn't take it too well because she felt like that was a memory for her husband and not for him to go out and get it. Um, Another thing that stood out to me the most was when the new guy um, takes her to the place, like it's like a casino where her late husband's mistress worked, so that Serafina could confront her about being with her husband and finding out the truth if she was with him. I guess she wanted clarification on it. So she meets up. Well, he takes her to this casino and they link up. And she walks up to the lady and she asks her, has she been um, intimate or involved with her late husband? And the lady said yes. And she mentions the rose tattoo. And that's when Serafina like really knew then that um, her husband was, in fact, with that lady because she could only see the rose tattoo and know about the rose tattoo if his shirt was off or if she, was that close to have witnessed him without a shirt on to actually see the tattoo that was on his chest. Um, Another thing about this play that I liked was my favorite character was Serafina's boyfriend. I cannot remember his name at the moment, but he was very funny. It was something Della Rosa, I think. No, that was Serafina's name. But his name was. I'm trying to find it. I can't find his name. Oh, Alvaro Mangiacavallo. Mangiacavallo. Character. Best character, hands down, in this play. I'm going to watch it again right after this um, because I liked it a whole lot. To me, the rose tattoo, I picked it because it had tattoo in it, and I'm a fan of tattoos and body art. And I think I made a good choice when I picked it. It kept me intrigued and interested in it through the whole thing. Like I said, I've watched it multiple times. But other than that, I think Tennessee Williams was just giving us a lot of insight about relationships and family and religion and how everything comes into play in this play called The Rose Tattoo. He intertwined a lot of elements from religion to the military to family to infidelity to mental health issues. Even though she didn't really have mental health issues, she did have a mental. It looked like she had a mental breakdown. Um, Gossiping neighbors, friends, uh, nosy neighbors. They did have mental disabilities in there because there was a lady who they called Crazy Eyes that was a part of it. Um, I can ramble on for days, so I'm going to stop here. And this class also did, well, the class altogether taught me that, I never went to a play before, never sat down to one. This class really opened up my eyes to really enjoy going to watch something live. And I thank you for that. So, thank you. And that's it.